Hello, welcome. If this is your first time here, and if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be discussing how I passed pathophysiology, even though I failed two exams. Before I get into this, I need to read the disclaimer. It's going to be on the screen, and I want to verbally read it. The views and the opinions expressed in my videos are my own, which are not directed at any entity specifically or any party, and do not reflect the views and opinions of any affiliates or employers. Okay, now that we have that out the way, let me go ahead and get into the video. So I passed pathophysiology, but my tutor was simple nursing, Nurse Mike. And I would say a couple of concepts I did use registered nurse RN, Nurse Sarah. Nurse Sarah has a full video, a full series, pathophysiology series on her YouTube channel that is for free. However, Simple Nursing, as you may know or may not know, it is a paid subscription. Simple Nursing does have a YouTube channel that is actually free as well, but a lot of his videos are cut out. He also offers a study guide. And so I've seen some students just utilize the study guide, or they'll have the subscription just for patho or for fundamentals or what have you. So it's up to you. I can say he was my tutor, Nurse Mike, and my go-to throughout this course. So also on top of that, what I have provided is a free ebook on how to pass or ace your pathophysiology class. How I can do that is I know the mistakes that I made, right? And so we're going to talk about them. And these steps are going to be in here. So I may look down to refer to some of them. I would say the first thing I did, just from starting from scratch, as soon as I got new information, right? We had 4 to 5 chapters per week in our course. So the first thing I did was attend a lecture, right? I attended lecture, took lecture notes, and then I utilized the book's key points. They had a worksheet that would actually give you all the key concepts and all the key points from the chapter. So because we were assigned to 4 to 5 chapters, I utilized that as my primary source for reading, and I made notes from that. So making notes, getting that material, writing it down, that was great for me. Once I was able to do that, and I would do that like within the first 3 days, 2 or 3 days of from lecture, once the semester, the week started. Once I did that, then went into check your understandings. Check your understandings is similar to like your HESI or your ATI test banks that actually, go over specific courses or topics within the like fundamentals and pharmacology. And so this particular process was me taking several check your understandings. Now, they are graded, but they usually just use your highest grade. And what I ended up doing, and what I would recommend to you, is take 20 check your understandings. What I mean by submit, take it again. It's usually like about 40 questions for the weekly tests. I'm not going to call them quizzes. I'm going to call them tests, because those weekly tests are weighted and graded more than the final and more than the midterm. So every week, knowing that material, getting it, that was key to me making a B. Again, because I failed 2 exams, I never failed those those exams, which were key. That was the key. However, I failed the midterm. I failed the midterm because my thinking is I only did 4 check your understandings. I had been successful week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, 90s, maybe even 89s. But on those quizzes, when I got to the midterm, I just had a lot of personal things going on, and I only took the midterm was 100 questions. I only took it 4 times when I should have taken it 20 times. Stick to what works, right? Don't change your process. Stick to what works if you're getting the grades that you want. So when it got down to, then I went back to my 20, my 20 attempts, was making those A's and B's on on the remaining quizzes. Then when it was time for the final, we had the holiday week. So there was 2 full weeks of a break. And I believe we had Thanksgiving, but that, Thanksgiving again is just each quiz or each exam every week was 20 questions. The midterm was 100 questions and the final was 200 questions. So I took the final check your understanding for, the 32 chapters. There's 32 chapters in that final. The 32 chapter check your understanding, I took it 54 times and I spreaded that out between 2 weeks period. However, even doing that, I still failed the midterm. I'm sorry, the final. So, what is my advice to you? Just as they tell us to do in nursing school, once we start, the ATI or the HESI or the Kaplan, whichever you do for your program, the more questions you take, the better you are more equipped for the final or for those big tests. What I mean by that is practice, practice, practice questions are going to be your key. If we didn't have this check your understandings, it would have been me taking, all of the questions from the chapters, because that's really what the 20 questions were each week is, I would say just a random selection of about 5 from each chapter because we had 5 chapters. So 5 different questions was created for each chapter of 4 of 5 chapters per week. So the key to that would be do as many practice questions as you can for active recall and to try to get those concepts down so you are prepared for your final exam. So I would recommend, even for the final exam here at West Coast University, I would recommend taking that final exams, check your understanding. So that we do that prior, of course, to the final. Do that 50 times. And typically, West Coast only has a holiday like once in the whole year. So if you take the class outside of the holiday, then I would recommend doing that. I know you would be ready to ace that if you do the 50 times. It may be excessive, but you're getting every single question. Now, what I do with that information, once I take that each week, I take that check your understanding, I would create Quizlets. I know initially I think I said Anki that I was going to start when I first started the class, when I was going over the past tracker and the how my first week was, but I could not get with Anki. Went back to Quizlet. So what I would do is take, let's just say the first week, it was 5 chapters. So I took all of my check your understanding questions that didn't repeat themselves and put them in a Quizlet, and I made it visible only for myself. Please do that because anybody and everybody can search your Quizlet and you do not want any cheating or anything. So I made it visible for myself. You can do that by going to the gear at the top and changing it visible for yourself only, not everyone else. Cannot be searched by anybody else. Okay. Create that Quizlet with all the questions. If you're doing 40 questions times 20, do the math. It's a lot of questions. So what I would do is I would keep those questions there for just that week. Then some of them repeat. So you won't have like all of that, all of those questions. There, most of them repeat themselves, especially when you get into the, 20 attempts. But you put them all in, and then you do the grade. You do the games, right? You do the matching. You do the tests. Create your own test. Let it read aloud to you. I did that a lot in the vehicle, or even while showering or something. I would let it just read to me, and I would quiz myself constantly in meetings, out of meetings, on my way doing things. Check your understanding, Quizlet, let it read out loud to you. That was another tip that I did. My textbook, I did the same thing. Even though I'm primarily focused on those key concepts and key points from the text, if I needed any additional information, I purchased textbooks that would read aloud. So I would highly recommend that, especially if you're in an accelerated program. Not sure if you're not going to WCU, but you're in an accelerated program or you have to learn on your own. Highly recommend those Audible books or something like Audible. That's not an Audible plug. I'm not doing an affiliate. But so yes, definitely do that. Also, I would recommend that you do the Fryman technique. And what that is basically going through and maybe teaching the concepts to another person. I used some of my adult children that's around that I would teach different concepts. Also, I would have one of my children just, quiz me, or give me something that they think they're understanding, but I have to correct them. That was another way to utilize the Fryman technique. It all boils down to you actively recalling the information. So different strategies to actively recall. Like I said, Quizlet, although they have the flashcards, the only flashcard feature I did use was the read out loud. Other than that, I quizzed myself, I tested myself, I did the matching each week on top of doing the 20 check your understandings, because that's how my Quizlet was designed, based on those 20 check your understandings. There are a few things I did use. Nurse Mike, which is Simple Nursing. As I stated before, he was my tutor. He was my I would say, what the teacher assistant, if you want to say that. So I utilized him a lot, especially with that ABG's interpretation. I think I tried to show you all when I was doing my past tracker video. That is something that I would highly recommend. And I'm not getting affiliate on this. This is just me giving you the tea on what really works for my patho. So Nurse Mike, he also has a book, like he also has a study guide that he created. And in volume 1 is your pathophysiology concepts. Why I bought this on top of getting this subscription was because every week that we had topics that I knew we were about to get a lecture on, I would print out his study guides that literally look like this. It was just missing the notes section here, or here's a one that you can see. It was just missing these notes section, but I would print those out. And as I'm learning and trying to understand what the instructor is saying, I had his study guide there to kind of help me as well. And so that was extremely helpful because he has a lot of memory tricks. And if you watch his videos on YouTube, he does have free videos on YouTube, but they just don't go in depth as they do on the subscription, especially like the ABG's interpretation. And I'll link that one video, the introduction for ABG's, on this video as well, because I think that is amazing. I actually asked my instructor here that we're in the final week of the class, I asked him, had he ever heard of the marching band uniform technique, which is that's how Nurse Mike teaches ABG interpretations. And he said he hadn't heard it. He checked it out and he was like, yeah, definitely. He gave it to the rest of the class for us to move forward into fundamentals. But I would say it's instructor approved for that concept. So Nurse Mike, I would say it's definitely a reasonable subscription. I'm not sure the costs, so I don't want to give you the price or anything because everyone may be different. You may decide to do the monthly. I purchased like the 2 years because it's going to take me literally 2 years to finish this nursing program. So I might as well have everything. And so that was a discounted rate. That's the only reason why I don't want to mention pricing here. But if I did a summary of how I passed pathophysiology at West Coast University with my B, even though I failed the midterm and the final, the key things would be utilize your key points or key concepts from each chapter, possibly do a review, ask questions during the lecture, or email your teacher questions about it if you need some additional supplemental information from the book itself. And also during their lecture, if you have any questions after the lecture, get with the instructor, but do notes on your key concepts from the book's chapters, and do notes on the lecture from the instructor. Once you have all that information, then you're ready. You're setting yourself up. And there are some discussion threads and there are some other things that we do, activities that we do that can help supplement some of the material as well. We have an in-class assignment that helped us really learn additional areas of the concept through critical thinking. So pretty much the in-class assignments and our project as a group, we had a group project and then we had a research project for ourselves. Those things helped us with the critical thinking skills of pathophysiology. But if I was to do a summary of what and how I passed patho, would be ensuring that I make A's and B's on everything else. So all of those weekly quizzes or exams, the group project, the research-based project, all of my in-class assignments, all of my discussion threads. I made sure I got all my points for the discussion threads, and they had some unique things that I talked about in the past tracker video. Once I had all of that, there's a point system, right? So I had majority of my points. So because I failed the 2 exams, I didn't fail the class or even get a C because I had did well on the other things. And this was one thing the instructor said. He made 2 or 3 statements at the very beginning of the class, and that was, if you do everything, like all the activities, and you end up failing something, failing the exam, final, or midterm, you will be okay. If you lack in the other activities and fail the exam, guess what? You failed the class. You have to take it again. You have to push your graduation out. And that's okay because patho is a very hard subject. So let's be clear. I'm not making it easy at all. I'm just telling you what worked for me at West Coast University. I will also say, once you have all your concepts, once you did your 20, check your understandings every week, then with that information for the week chapter, so 4 to 5 chapters, you would create your Quizlet based on the questions from the 20 check your understandings. You create the Quizlet, then you go ahead and listen to the number of cards. I'm just going to say on average, it's probably 115, 130, between 115, 130 questions. Listen to those questions as you cook, as you shower, as you do things. Listen to those questions. Once you have those questions down, start taking the test and Quizlet. Start this process at least, early in the week. So you have about 4 days to get that done. All of those, check your understandings, the Quizlets, I didn't do all 20 and then started my Quizlet. No, I started my Quizlet like within the time. Like if I did 2 check your understandings, that was 40 questions each, I would go ahead and start my Quizlet. So I'm doing that active recall, and I'm getting those questions, and I'm doing those things all at the same time, right? Until I get to Sunday. That's the close of every week at WCU. Sunday is the last time we could do check your understandings. Well, at least I have Monday, I have my Quizlet that I can reference. And Tuesday, whenever you go back to your class, you have when you're ready to take that exam, you at least have your Quizlets that you could do while you're on your way to campus. Go to campus a little early, like an hour or two early, study those Quizlets, and at least you keep your grade for your check your understanding, your current grade. Those were my steps. Again, I mentioned I did the Fryman technique with my adult children. That helped. In my ebook, again, free ebook, I list about 8 steps that helped a student ace pathophysiology. And I pretty much gave a summary of that. The only thing I didn't talk about is you have to have the foundational science knowledge, right? You have to know a human anatomy, human physiology. You have to know how the body works. For instance, you have to know how the blood flow through the heart, and which valve goes from the lungs back to the heart. And you have to know those things, the normal physiology of the body. On top of that, you have to know about the different diseases, microbiology, right? You have to know the chemistry, and I would say more like a biochemistry that came from your general chemistry class. Those things I had as a reference on my past tracker. However, WCU had a workshop, and I think I mentioned it in my past tracker video before, but they had a workshop for every week. We had an instructor that did a session for about an hour to teach us about the next 5 chapters that's coming up in this week, what anatomy, physiology, microbiology, and chemistry refresher, they call it workshop, that will help us, with the material. And I did attend about 4 or 5 of those sessions. There were 7 offered, and I attended 5. So, or listen to some of the videos if I couldn't attend live. So that is also something that I did do, which kind of goes into that tutoring session. That's something that, again, it wasn't on Patho, but it was on the fundamentals or the foundational basic chemistry, microbiology, human anatomy, human physiology for the upcoming week. And so that's what helped me overall. I will do a video on which resources, and it's probably going to be a very quick video, maybe like 5 or, like similar to a short, but a little longer, on which resources worked best. I started the video with all of the resources that I received just for pathophysiology. Um, and those were collected over the years, because I've been trying to get into nursing school. I'll share my long story one day, but I feel like it's more effective to give you all study techniques, give you all the hacks, the college hacks, the tricks, in the tips for succeeding in nursing school. But I'll definitely give you a rundown one day. Definitely, if you request it, let me know. Also, let me know if you want to receive the past tracker that I shared. Again, I'm going to highly emphasize that you should make it your own, but it will come compact with all of West Coast University's weekly chapters, the chapters that are assigned per week, and preparing you for those things. If you want it, I can definitely provide it for free on my blog, where I have a blog for individuals that are over 40 who they have a job, and they're transitioning into nursing. We just have this little community here where we just share tricks and tips, and I will definitely link that in the description, so you can definitely go to the website and receive your free ebook free ebook on how to ace Patho, which I've given you a summary. If there's anything else you want me to do, I did take Westcott, University of Global Massachusetts classes, like all of the human physiology, human anatomy, microchemistry. I did all of that in a 3-month span all together, all four, paid for all four of them. And I made 2 A's, a B, and I believe I made a C in anatomy only because I was just learning the concept of how the school works. And previously, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I made A's in human anatomy. So it was surprising that I made that C. But if you want a video on that, I know a lot of people on TikTok ask me questions about that particular school. So I may do a video on that, and I do have my past trackers for those as well. That is a self-paced online science that a lot of schools take because it's regionally accredited. FYI, if there's any pre-nursing students in this video, definitely comment below and I will share all the things that just like I shared in Patho, of how I passed those particular classes. Okay. Thanks so much. I hope this video has been great. Until next time, be blessed, be safe, stay warm in this snow.